What I'm about to show you will divide opinion. This is a 200-year-old listed Georgian villa, and this is a modern open riser staircase that I built inside. Some of you watching are going to love this, and some of you are going to think I vandalized an historic building. But this isn't really a video about a staircase, it's a video about a fight homeowners are having all over the UK. What's the right way to make modern changes to a listed property? Stick with me, because I want to show you how I persuaded the planners to allow these modern stairs in a listed building. I will go into detail about the design and construction, and at the end I will tell you exactly what this would cost to build in 2026. My name is Neil and this is Real Life Architecture. Let's get started. Theory. Before we go any further, I believe the phrase "in keeping" gets thrown about too much. And a lot of the time it gets misused. It can be thoughtless and reactionary. If we applied it everywhere, it would become a straitjacket. Here's how I look at it. In a listed building, the original fabric should be respected and preserved, but where you're adding new elements, new kitchens, new extensions, new stairs, that work should be honest. New should look new and old should look old. These stairs are a great example of how this can work in practice. The existing house. This Georgian villa on the south side of Edinburgh was built in the 1820s. It is category B listed, which is the equivalent of grade 2 in England. The 20th century was tough on the house. In the 1960s it was carved up into flats, and in the 1990s it was recombined back into a single home, but that work was done badly. By the time I got involved, the house had multiple gas and electric meters, different heating systems, deteriorating windows and dry rot in the lower floor. The house has some amazing features. A very grand sense of arrival up these steps to an entrance vestibule that leads to a parabolic central hallway under a large cupola. From here, things got a bit confused. The upper floor has an amazing drawing room, originally two spaces that had been joined together in the 90s. This may have been the kitchen at one point, but that was moved to the lower floor with easy access to the rear garden. The move made sense, but it also meant a lot of going up and down the stairs. The original house did not have a grand staircase because all the main entertaining spaces were on this level. The lower floor originally had bedrooms. There was no need to show off a beautiful staircase because guests would never use it. Part of the original stone stairs remains, but most of the steps were ripped out in the 1960s and replaced with an unremarkable timber stair in the 1990s. That stair arrived at the back of this dark corridor. The one change from the 90s that did make sense was having the kitchen in a more intimate space, closer to the rear garden on the lower floor. That is something we decided to keep. The design. The clients wanted the villa to work as one coherent home. The big move was to join the two floors together properly and to introduce as much natural light into the lower hallway as possible. The temptation was to copy what a Georgian architect might have done. A sweeping cantilevered stone stairs, a mahogany handrail, a wrought iron balustrade. But I told the clients not to do that for 3 reasons. First, you'd be inventing a fictional history, pretending that the new stairs had always been there. Second, you'd be spending serious money on something that, on close inspection, is a reproduction, not an original. And third, you'd be lying to whoever owns the house next about the timeline of the house. By pretending the new stairs were original, you flatten the history of the house, trying to make it all appear to have all been created at a single moment, when in reality the house has a 200-year story to tell. I believe that people who insist on in-keeping fundamentally lack confidence. By focusing on the era that created the original house, an era they didn't live through, they ignore all the other periods of history that happened between then and now, and they really do not value now. I believe the right answer is a high-quality stairs that does its job and looks like it belongs in today's world, while deferring to what's left of the original villa around it. I persuaded the client to use this bow-fronted element of the house as the location for the new stairs. It is 2 stories tall, with a sliding sash window on each floor. The lower room was used as a formal dining space and the upper room was a bathroom. Those beautiful original sash windows would play a crucial role in the new design by introducing light into the lower hall. That's why it has open risers, gaps between the treads, so daylight pours straight through the stairs deep into the building. That was the big idea, but the devil is in the details, and the stairs went through several changes before the final design emerged. This is normal. I never build the first thing I draw. Good design comes from a process of discussing ideas. It isn't created in one moment, it evolves. This early drawing shows the stairs with winders at the half landing. These wedge-shaped steps were to help make the stairs compact so that it would take up less space. We originally thought about placing a dining table or sofa on the lower floor and needed as much room as possible for this to work. Eventually we changed that plan, and this allowed the stairs to breathe. The half landing was made larger and each run of steps was made longer. We also started out with a very thin minimal handrail, but this evolved. I developed a design that allowed the stairs to feel like they were slotted into the building from above. That's where the side walls of the stairs come from. They support a more substantial handrail made from mahogany, which is a nod to tradition. The side walls are clad in a product called Luna Wood from Russwood. I've worked with them on many projects, and I even made a video tour of their sawmill. Check out the link in the description if you want to see that. The Luna Wood cladding gives the walls texture, and the lines create a vertical emphasis, like pinstripes. This makes the stairs look like it's slid down from above. We originally thought about lime washing the Luna Wood to match the walls. The contractor tried several samples, but we didn't like the results and decided to keep the dark timber colour to match the steps and the handrail. I feel this was the right decision because it makes the stairs look like a single coherent unit, almost like a piece of furniture. Those side walls also hide the stringer. That's the timber beam that supports the steps. On regular stairs, the stringer is exposed at the side, but that would ruin the vertical proportions, so hiding it made sense. This looks much more elegant. Early on, I decided the first two steps would be made from the same stone as the floor. This would ground the stairs both practically and visually, like a wedge holding it in place. The original plan was to form those two steps from sandstone blocks taken from the external walls of the house during repairs. In the end, we used concrete blocks and clad them in the same tiles as the floor, but the effect is the same. The rest of the steps are made from oak, and in an ideal world they would be as thin and open as possible to maximize natural light. But the open risers have these downstand beads on the underside because the building regulations require any gap on a stair to be less than 100 millimeters. This is to prevent a child from falling through. The stairs have steel beams at this point to support the half landing, but also to secure this glass sheet. The glass is there to maximize daylight from the windows, but it has to be strong enough to resist someone falling against it. So it's 17 millimeters thick, toughened and laminated. The glass sits in this aluminium channel. I've used these on many projects. The channel is bolted to the beam, but that creates problems. Steel reacts with both aluminium and oak. To prevent this, the steel was coated with bitumen paint first. The handrail is probably the most important feature on a stairs. It's the part you touch, so it has to be both strong and reliable, but also soft and inviting. I developed this shape, a square with slightly rounded corners, that's stood on a thin batten so that a hand can really grip the profile. There are two other stairs in the house and we use the same handrail on those for consistency. To comply with the regulations, the handrail must be continuous and extend 300 millimeters beyond the first and last step. It also has to be between 840 and 1000 millimeters above the pitch line of the stairs. Now, getting that to work in practice was not easy. The handrail at the glass screen has a channel cut into the underside so it slots onto the glass for support. And at the half landing, the handrail steps up to keep it within the height limits. There hasn't been a stairs in this space before, so I took the opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. The house was undergoing a comprehensive renovation with new electrics, heating, drainage and ventilation, and all those pipes and wires had to go somewhere, so I created service risers, one on either side of the stairs. The boiler is in the room above the stairs, so all the heating pipes run in here, as well as data cables and drains. There's plenty of space in case future owners ever want to add more pipes and wires. If you are planning work on a taller property, I strongly urge you to factor in a service riser like this. One feature that was not planned or designed was this stairgate frame. The clients had a young child and the contractor created this for them. Now, if a contractor built something that was not on the drawings, I would usually lose my shit. But I really like this. It's very human. It tells a story and it shows the contractor actually cares. In a few years, the frame will be unscrewed, the stairs will still be there, and the client will look back at these photos to remind them of a special time when their boy was young. This whole project was built by a team of Polish joiners led by a man called Mariusz. I've been working with this team since 2019 on jobs all over Edinburgh. By now, we know each other's standards. On a job like this, that trust is everything. During construction, I had the joiners set out the stair geometry on site. They drew each step on the stringers and even created a full-size mock-up step to test it out before making the real thing. When working on older buildings, I find it best to check that everything fits on site before committing to the final design. As carpenters like to say, measure twice and cut once. Listed building consent. So how did I persuade Edinburgh's planners and Historic Environment Scotland to approve of stairs like this in a Category B listed villa? First, policy was on my side. HES publishes a document called Managing Change in the Historic Environment, and the section on new design in historic settings is explicit. High quality contemporary design is appropriate in listed buildings. The test is whether it is well considered and respects the host. Second, the planning officer visited the site together with a representative from Historic Environment Scotland. They wanted to document the interior of the villa as it then was. While they were there, I talked them through the proposal and made the case for the modern stairs on the spot. The original principal stairs was already lost, so there's no surviving fabric to reinstate. The new stair would sit inside a space where the historic features, the curved walls, the original sash and case windows, the shutters, would all be retained and celebrated. The new stairs was structurally independent and, in principle, could be removed in the future. And a pastiche stairs would have introduced new, false history into a listed building, which is arguably more harmful to its heritage than an honest, modern intervention. The planning officer was already familiar with my previous work in Edinburgh, and that mattered. Listed building work is a relationship business. If the local authority knows your name, knows what you're capable of, and trusts that you'll deliver something to a high standard, you start the conversation in a better place. That's not a shortcut, it's what you build over 20 years of work. The lesson for any homeowner watching is this. Listed doesn't mean frozen, but you have to make the case properly, and you have to make it before you spend money on detailed design. If you are trying to work out what you can and can't do, that's exactly the kind of question I help with during an online consultation. As long as your property is in the UK, I can give you the advice you need. There's a link in the description to the Real Life Architecture website. Please read the terms and conditions before you book. The cost. If you are planning to build bespoke stairs like this in 2026, you should budget at least £15,000 plus VAT. That figure covers the joinery, the glass and the installation. It does not include design fees, structural engineering input or the making good of the surrounding walls, floors and ceilings. And on a project like this, the making good is often far more expensive than people realise. When we took the building apart to create the new stairwell, we discovered the original floor joists had been notched to fit the drains for the 90s bathroom on the first floor. The walls on the upper and lower rooms did not align, and the lower floor had dry rot, so it was stripped out and a new solid floor was formed. When creating bespoke stairs, the joinery is the single biggest cost. The glass and the fascia mounted system are more affordable per metre than people expect. The real killer is forming the space and then making good around the stairs afterwards. If you are considering a similar piece of work in your own home, my advice is this. Set the joinery budget, then add the same again as a contingency for making good. One final thought. The lower hall is now flooded with light from 2 original windows. The stair is unmistakably contemporary, but that's okay because the old looks old and the new look new. They are better together than either would be alone. In keeping is a useful idea, but applied everywhere it strangles good design. The best heritage homes in this country are the ones that have been honest about every era they've passed through. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to learn more about stair design, check out this video I made about 5 different stairs I reviewed as part of a recent trip around Europe. And if you want to alter, extend, buy or build a home anywhere in the UK, you can book an online consultation with me on the Real Life Architecture website. There's a link in the description.